We're going to code these up. So let's not do the FabCon. Let's look at the handout here. Let's move on. Let's go back to the handout. Let's go to the page that has myraskoff.com at the top. So this one, let's go to this page. It says raskoff.com. It's like the third one in. It's like the third one in. It's like the third one in. You see this one? It's like the third one from the front, maybe the fourth. Looks like this. Then open up the Dreamweaver program. It should say DW in your dock. It should say DW in your dock. You'll have to wait. Once again, every time that you start a new page, you have to go underneath the site, new site, new site. We're doing backgrounds, so I'm just going to call it backgrounds as the name. Backgrounds. Again, remember this window? We use it every class. You give it a name, and right here is a little folder, right? It says Browse Folder, right? Right here, Browse Folder. I'm going to go to the Browse Folder. I'm going to go to Desktop, and I'm doing my Week 3 graphic lecture. So choose your folder right here. Go to your desktop, choose your folder, and then hit Save. Okay? So go, choose your folder, and hit Save. Do what I said, you did. Very good. Okay, we're going to start with a new page. I don't know where you saved your files, but you got to put them in a folder somewhere. Okay, so in the handout I talk about how you can make little graphics for web pages. Okay. So the first one will be the gradient one that goes across the top. So if you look at my page, let's look real quick. Can I not get a... Oh, great. Okay, hold on. I'm having a malfunction with my Firefox here. Hold on. Okay, here we go. So if we look at my page right here, you'll notice I have a little black line with a red line at the top of the page. Do you see that? How this is done is making a little square area like we did in Photoshop with the gradient, and then have it go horizontally across the page. That's what I'm going to do with the gradient. Same thing. So inside of Dreamweaver, I'm going to say File, New. File, New. So go File, New. Blank HTML, none is fine, and hit Create. So hit Create. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a nice background for my web page. I'm going to save this first. Let's go under File, Save As, File, Save As, and I'm just going to call it Background 1. This is my first one, Background 1. So just call it Background 1. So again, all I did was make a new page and call it Background 1. To put the background in the handout, it says use the page properties. Use page properties. Where's page properties? It's under Modify Page Properties. You'll notice there is one for background image. Background image. Okay, it should automatically come up with background image. Where it says Browse, go to your folder and choose your gradient background. Go to your folder and choose gradient background. Go to the folder. So again, Page Properties is under Modify Page Properties. In the Page Properties, you should have background image. Go to Browse and choose your gradient background. Where it says Repeat, if you hit Apply, watch what happens. Ooh, that looks crazy. Look at the background. Ooh, that's a crazy background. But if you go to where it says Repeat, choose Repeat X only, and then hit Apply. So if you want a nice kind of gradient at the top of your web page, you can, again, how this is done is making a small little graphic. Okay, so this might be a nice background for a web page. Okay, it's a nice graphic that goes across the top of your page. That looks good. Get it. You go. You're going the wrong way. There you go. There you go. Your image is probably too big. I don't know what is the dimensions. Go on your image size, image size. Okay. You've got 1,417 pixels height. Mine was only 50. Hit OK and then save your page. Let's make a new one. Save it. Okay, let's make a new page. File, new. Let's do another one. File, new. Let's do the one with the fixed background. So go File, new. I'm gonna go blank page, HTML, none. Okay, so save this one. This is going to be a second sample. I'm going to go under File, Save As. Let's call this Background 2. Background 2. Okay, this time, instead of using the Modify Page Property option, I'm going to use the CSS Styles window. And if you remember the CSS Designer, you need to bring up your CSS Designer. Bring up your CSS Designer, because you can't do a fixed in the page properties. Okay? So bring up the CSS, so just make a new file, save it, and then if you don't see the CSS Designer, go under Window, CSS Designer, it should pop up, Window, CSS Designer. It might be jammed over here in the corner somewhere, it might be over here somewhere. Again, if it's over here, you can click on the word CSS Designer, hold my left mouse down and drag it out on the screen like that. Okay, the settings for the background, that's a fixed background. You click on the plus button right here. Do you see where it says source? The little plus at the top here. We're going to say define in page. Define in page. Next, it should say style right here, right? It should say style right there. Next, I'm going to go to the very bottom down here where it says selectors, and I'm going to hit the plus button, and I'm going to call it body, B-O-D-Y, body, B-O-D-Y. Next, click off, and then on, off, on, off, on. Once you click on, I'm going to scroll down to where it says background image. Background image. Where it says background image, I'm going to click where it says URL. See the little diagram in the handout? I'm on this page in the handout. If you don't see this page, you can get to it. You might have to turn the page. It looks like this. There's a little diagram in the handout. It looks like this. It shows you where to click. It tells you where to click. Okay, it tells you where to click. Again, right here where it says enter URL right here, if you click on that, there should be a little folder that shows up. See the little folder, it says browse right here, where it says browse. Again, click here, click the browse, go. I'm using my full image background. Remember the full image background I made? You should see your apple show up. Now, if you want it to stay fixed, if you scroll down to where it says background attachment, do you see that background attachment? Change that to fixed, and that apple will always stay in the same position no matter how long the web page is. I'll show you what I mean. If I come over here and click inside here, I can type some text, hit return, type some text, hit return, text 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 return, type some text, type some text, text return, text return, text return, text return. So I'm making a long page. It has a lot of stuff in here. Text return, text return, text return, text text return, whatever. I got a long page that has a lot of junk in it. Okay, so if I save this and preview it in the internet though, so if you go under File, Save, and then Preview, again the preview on the internet is this option right here where it says, it looks like a little planet right here, see it right here? If you click on that, you can say Preview. I'm going to preview in Firefox. Watch what happens. If I'm scrolling, look at I'm scrolling, but the apples never change. I'm scrolling, but the apples never change. This is a fixed background. If you want a fixed background website, that's how you do it. You can make as many as you want in there, and you can scroll them, scroll them, scroll them. Again, this is a fixed background to a web page. You might want to do this. I don't see it used very often, but it's kind of an interesting way of making a background for a web page.
What would happen if you didn't have fixed?
The background would repeat. If you don't use fixed, it would actually move. The apples would move with the picture.
It would just keep on.
It would repeat it down, yes. Okay, so the last thing I'll demonstrate will be actually putting the pictures on the page. So if you want to put pictures on your page, find an empty spot, click anywhere on your page, anywhere you want. To put a picture on your page, remember we resized some pictures to like 700 or something like that, or 500 or something, remember that? To put a picture on your page, you go underneath Insert, Image, Image, Insert Image, Image, and then choose one of your pictures. Apple for page. Remember I called one apple for page, and hit open, and you should see your apple on your web page. You can see it right there. Again, it's going to be the size you want it. You can resize the picture inside of Dreamweaver. Remember, you can put your cursor along the edge and drag it smaller or drag it bigger. Drag it smaller, drag it bigger, drag it smaller, drag it bigger. But the problem is you're not really resizing the pixels. You're just changing the pixel on the page. You're just changing the height and width, and the original file size of it at 100% is still there. So you can save that and preview that if you want. So again, I got a bunch of apples, I got a bunch of apples, bunch of apples, bunch of apples. Okay, so I'm going to stop. I think we didn't get to the FabCon today. That's alright, we'll do that next class. But you should practice putting images on your page. You should practice cropping. You should practice making a background. You should practice making the gradients. Maybe make a gradient that goes horizontal. Horizontal. So instead of having it go vertical or horizontal, instead of having, what I'm trying to say, maybe you make one that goes vertical instead of horizontal. Okay, again, instead of making the graphic this way, you'd make it this way and then repeat it down. That's really fun to do. Did work, and I just didn't compress right. That might be the reason why. So let's steal some pictures. I know we downloaded some flowers last time, so I'm gonna make a folder for today. This is gonna be week 3 graphics lecture. Oops, that didn't write, did it? Week 3 graphics lecture. Okay, so make a folder on your desktop, and we're going to save some pictures in there, and then we're going to resize them and work with different sizes, and then we'll make a FabCon and all that great stuff. So I know you've already started a web page, and it's fine, but to keep it kind of separate for what I'm talking about today, I'm going to just make a new folder. You can make as many different folders as you want and link them to inside of Dreamweaver. Before I even start in Dreamweaver, I'm going to actually put some pictures in here. How do I put some pictures in there? Well, I can go to the internet and steal some pictures. Again, if I go to Google, I can steal some pictures, or Flickr, wherever you want to go. And you can type in the topic. What are we looking for photos of today? We did flowers already. What do we want to do? Apples? How about we do apples? I got an apple on my desk. Okay, here's go. Delicious apples. Again, you have some graphics of apples up here. You have some green apples. I got some big apples, and you can see the dimensions when you roll your mouse over. You can see. Look at this one. This one's 350 by 241. Do you see that when I roll my mouse over it? Though this one is 2,880 by 2,600. Okay, would that fit on my computer? Would that fit on my web page? Well, it would probably take up the entire web page, right? Think about it. My screen resolution was what? 1440 by something, right? So if I took this apple and put it in Dreamweaver, it would take up the entire page. So you need to start thinking of dimension and sizes in pixels. So let's steal some big ones and learn how to resize. I'm going to take this one. How do I steal it? I can click on it. It'll open in a bigger window, and I can take that and drag it right into my folder. See that? I can just drag it right into my folder from the desktop. Again, how can I do that? Again, I have a folder on my desktop. I got an apple here. You can just click on it and drag it right into your folder. Let's grab another apple. Oh, there's a nice big one. That one looks tasty. Grab that one, put it right into my folder. There, I got another one here. Okay, there's another apple. Well, this one too, there's a whole group of apples. There we go. Let's drag that one in right there. Oh, there we go. I grabbed that one in. And then, so the kind of apple, oh, here's a graphic. Let's take that one and drag that in. There we go. We can use that as a logo. So steal some images, and we'll talk about resizing them and using them inside of the program. So get a cluster of something, whatever you're working on. Get a cluster. What I mean by cluster, I have a group of, like I have a group of apples. We're going to learn how to make a background and a fixed background in the program. So get a cluster of things, cluster, and so get a group of pictures and we'll get started. So in this case, I have a variety of pictures in my folder here. I'm going to quit the internet for now, or just at least close that. So in this case, I'm going to open these pictures up that are in my folder, right? I have a folder with some apples in. Oh, I thought I had a group of apples. Well, I didn't get a group of apples. Hold on, I have to get a group of apples for my demonstration. Hold on. I needed a group of apples. Hold on 1 second. I wanted a... No, I didn't want a map of apples. What do I want? I want images. Where's images? Where's images? There we go. Apples. I wanted this one. Can't get this in there. There we go. Okay. Again, I'm going to close the internet for right now. Okay, in this case, to open these graphics up inside of Photoshop, because I need to resize them. Now, you can resize them inside of Dreamweaver, but of course, resizing in Dreamweaver doesn't really change the actual pixels in it. So you're just wasting your space. If you just scale, what we mean by scale is where you can shrink it down in Dreamweaver. The problem is that the original file size is there, so it's going to be big and it's going to take long to download. You really need to learn to manage your graphics, especially when people come to a cell phone, right? The cell phone network is great. LTE is great, but it's slow. So making small files and making your website load fast is very important. A little bit later we'll learn JavaScript, where we'll actually preload the graphics before the page is displayed, especially for a cell phone. Okay, you want the graphics to be loaded into memory before the page is displayed. Okay, so there's some JavaScript we can do to preload the graphics before the page is displayed. That's anticipating also. You can also use JavaScript to anticipate where you think they're going to click and load the second page even before they've touched it. When we get to phones, you might want to preload a page before they even hit it, so that when they hit the button, it's automatically loaded into memory. It's a little bit more difficult, but that's important kind of when you get to cell phones. Let's open up these pictures. The easiest way to open these up is not to double-click on them. The stupid operating system thinks you want to open it inside of Preview, right? If I double-click on a picture, it's going to open it up in what? Preview. There. Oh, Preview. I'm not editing my pictures in Preview. I'm editing them in Photoshop. So I'm going to quit this. If I highlight all of them or hit Command A on the keyboard, Command A will select all of them. And if I right-click on them, I can say Open With, and then I can choose what I want to open them with, and I can say Open with Photoshop. So again, I hit Command A on the keyboard, selects all of them, right-click on one of them, and say Open with Photoshop, and it'll open all the images up in the Photoshop program. Or you can just go to Photoshop and say File, Open, File, Open, File, Open, but that takes a long time. Wasn't it easier for me to select all and then right-click and say Open with Photoshop? If you get this, don't worry about it. It's just telling you that you need to manage your VRAM. And it should open them all up inside of Photoshop. And they should be in tabs at the top. See tab, 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 tab. Now when you're looking inside of Photoshop at your images and you want to make a relationship between what you're viewing on the screen and what it will look like in Dreamweaver, you need to be at a zoom factor of 100%. If I look at this image right now, it says 100% right here. This apple will look that size on my website. But if I look at this nice crispy apple right here, this one, oh, it looks delicious. Notice the zoom factor in Photoshop says 16.7%. At least mine does. I don't know what yours does. Mine says 16.7%. And the reason why is because it's not showing you the actual pixels. It's showing you a zoomed in version. If you wanted to see how big this apple will be on your website, if you hit Command plus on the keyboard, that allows you to zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Oh, this is 100%. This is how big the apple would be on my website right now. Okay? So when you're looking in Photoshop, look up here at the zoom factor of 100% right here. That'll tell you, that gives you a visual representation of how big it will be inside of Dreamweaver. Okay? So of course this is way too big, so let's shrink it down. Now in the handout I talk a little bit about something called the image size. So let's look at that. Where did I talk about image size? Let me see. We're going to have to jump around in this handout a little bit here because I jumped around it in my brain a little bit. Hold on. I swear there was a part that said image size, didn't it? Maybe it was the page before. Oh, it was. It was the page before this one. This one. I think it's the one with the mountain. Turn the page over. The page in front of the mountain. The page in front of the mountain. Over on there should be the image size. Do you see that? This is the image size of this. So to resize our image, we go under image size. And of course, this looks a little different in here than it does inside of my screen grab there. Maybe because this is a newer version of Photoshop and I'm using, this is CS6. This screen grab was from CS6. And this looks like this is CC. So hey, notice it's 21.4 megabytes. Woo, imagine downloading that on your phone. Okay, see the size right here? Okay, so if we want to change the size, we don't use inches, we use what? Pixels, right? And if I wanted to put it on my screen, if my web page is 1440 across, then this apple I want it to be maybe 1/3 the size. So what's 1/3 of 1440? Maybe 500. Let's just go with 500. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to type in 500 here. Notice how it automatically changes the height. Oh, and forgot resolution is not 240, right? What should it be? 72. Okay, let's change that one first, and then let's change the top one. There. So make sure you change the resolution to 72 and then the width to 500. Then you have a resampling. There's a variety of different ways, and we could talk about each one of these into further detail, but basically what it needs to do, let's just talk about it. It needs to reinterpret the pixels because you're going from a whole bunch of pixels down to several smaller pixels, or bigger pixels in this case. How does it reinterpret the pixels? And there's several different ways of doing it. They all do different things. It's called interpolation, the term for that, interpolation. Let's not go there right now. Let's just, notice how it's going to be 660 kilobytes compared to 21 megabytes. Hey, that'll be a much better apple. Again, if I'm looking at 100%, this is how big it will be on my web page. Okay, let's save this one. I'm going to go underneath File, Save for Web. Save for Web. Now you could use Save As and change JPEG instead, but there is a Save for Web option in these programs. If I go under File, Save for Web, you'll notice that I have different options. Up here at the top, I have GIF, JPEG, PNG8, PNG24, and WBMP. You're not going to use the WBMP. We used to use the WBMP when people used to use flip phones. Do you remember the days with your flip phone? And it was black and white screen? Here, look, that's what the graphics used to look like 10 years ago on your phone. It's come a long way in 10 years. We can use color now. So we're not going to really use that one. The 24 one we'll learn about a little bit. That one has a transparent layer. This doesn't have a transparent layer, so it's not really going to make any difference between that one and this one uses a color palette though. The best is probably JPEG, since this is a photo. It'll probably give you the best quality and the lowest file size. So I'm going to choose that. Let me hide my dock. My dock is in the way. There we go. And if I hit save, it's going to ask me to give it a name. I'm going to make sure I put it in my folder that is on my desktop. Remember, desktop here. And then I'm going to put it in my folder with the one I called Week 3 Graphic Lecture. And I'm going to call this Apple for Page. I don't know. Apple for Page. That way I know this is going to go on my web page. Whatever you want to call it. Make sure you know what it is, though. So again, that was under image size. The downfall, of course, of using image size is that you have a ratio between the height and the width, and it doesn't change. Let's choose another apple. You probably have another apple somewhere. Oh, there's another one. Let's use another one. Okay, so I have another apple now. In this apple, though, this time what I want to do is I want to crop it. Crop it. Why would I use the crop tool instead of the image size? Well, you'll notice I have extra white along the edges over here. Okay, and I want to kind of get rid of some of the area. Okay. Again, there is in the handout, I do talk about the crop tool. You should turn the page. I don't know, let's turn the page a couple of times. There should be one with my, oh, there she is, my sister-in-law. There we go. There should be a page with a woman with with a little grid on it. It's probably, maybe, I should put page numbers on there. That would have helped us a lot. Okay. It looks like this. Looks like a little person. There's a person on it. You see that one? Okay. So this one is using the crop tool to make a image using a crop tool. So in this case, the crop tool is great to cut things out, but it's also best if you have a specific size. Let's say that you're building a web page and you have a box, a div tag. Remember the div tag? And you made a div tag that's 300 pixels wide by 300 pixels high. We want to make it square. Okay, I have a box. I want to fill that box with an image. How do I do that? Well, I do that in Photoshop. I go to my crop tool. It's this one over here. Looks like a crop. It's right there. It's called the crop tool. Once I choose the crop tool inside of Photoshop, I can type in, where at the top up here, I can actually type in pixels up here. I can type in 300px, hit tab. Oh, no, this is a ratio. Hold on, let's change it. Oh, ratio, front image. This is different than CS6. How about we go to what? Front image? Front image. I don't know. They're killing me here. I don't know. What is this? Ratio or resolution? Let's go where it says W plus H plus resolution. Do you see that option up there? Yeah, this is a different version. So type in 300px and then type in 300px. Make sure you put the px, and then you can crop it a little bit if you want. You can go down here. Notice how I'm putting my cursor along the edge here, and then I can move my image around a little bit. So down here in the box, you can actually move the box around. You'll notice the edges, you can make them bigger or smaller. You can do things like that. Do you see that? When you're done making the crop the way that you like it to look, if you just click on the move tool, this one right here, the first option right here, this is called the move tool here. If I click on that, it'll actually crop it. It'll say, hey, do you want to crop the image? You say yes, crop. Again, notice it gets kind of tiny, but that's not how big it's going to be on my website. How do I know how big it's going to be on my website? When I see 100% up here. See, right now it says 16.7. If I hit Command plus a couple times till it gets to 100%, oh, that's 300 by 300 on my website. Again, 100% up here. So again, crop tool is probably the most useful. You put in the dimensions you want up here. Make sure you put in 72 as the resolution. Draw your box the way you want it. Hit the move tool right here. It'll ask you to crop it, and then view it at 100% to see what it'll look like in your page.
Where did you put the 72 as the resolution?
Inside of the crop tool, you should have one box here, and one box there. this video here. So in Photoshop, the reason why I told you the one with multiple things, I'm going to turn the crop tool off here for just a second. This one has a bunch of apples in it. Let me move this around a little bit so I can move my screen around a little bit here. Okay, here we go. So in this case, I have a group of apples, and I want to use this as my background. Now, of course, this is very, there's a lot of contrast to it. It's very busy. And if I put text and images and title over this, it would look really busy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop it, and then I'm going to tint it. So my crop, again, I put in 1440 px by, what did I say, 900? I think in my handout, 900? Something like that. 1440 by 900 is the size of my my laptop display. So I want this to be the full display on my screen. So if I hit crop right now, hit this button right here, it says crop, or the move tool. After I put the numbers in here, I can hit the move tool and say crop, and uh-oh, there was a program error and it crashed. Beautiful. Did yours crash too? Or is it just me? Oh, evil. It didn't even tell me why. I love those. Program error. Let me try again. 1440 by 900. Let me move it a little bit. So maybe it needs a little bit of and let's move, crop. Ooh, that worked. Okay. So I cropped it to the size I'm going to. Now, if you turn the page in the handout, you'll notice what I do next. So let's turn the page in the handout here. In the page. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it in with a tint. A tint. So what I mean by fill it in with a tint, again, this would be a very busy background for a web page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go underneath Image. Oh, Edit. I'm sorry, Edit. I have the steps there. Edit, Fill, Edit, Fill. And I'm going to choose I'm going to choose white up here. See where it says white? And instead of 100% white, I'm going to use like 70%. And what that'll do is it will then put a 70% thing of white. Now you could use a color if you want. You could use a color. You could choose a foreground color or choose a color if you want. Maybe you wanted your web page has a certain theme to it that's blue or something. You could do that. I just used white right now. So I'm going to use 70% white, and if I hit OK, you'll notice it tints your picture a little bit. And now if I put text over top of it, you know, this might be a nice background for a web page. I could put text over, I could put a picture over it, and the people would still be able to read it. So that's what I mean by tinting. Do you understand what I mean by a tint? It's just taking the picture and making it less busy so that if it's a background for a web page, you'll still be able to read the stuff. So I'm going to save that. Let's save that one as a background. I'm going to call this one, this one's full image background. So I'm going to call it full image background. Ooh. Okay, next I'm going to go and do last one. So in the handout, let's turn the page. You'll see what it'll look like when we get to web page. You can see it's kind of a tint at the top of the page there. You see that? It's a nice little tint. So in Dreamweaver, you'll see it. It'll be there, but it'll be tinted. So last one we're going to do today, it will be a gradient background. What is a gradient background? Well, usually what I do is I'll make a small little graphic and then repeat it across some way, either down the side or across the top. To make a small one, you'll notice I got a 50 by 5. Do you see that? So to make a nice, cool gradient background, I'm going to make a new file by going under File, File, New. In the File, New window, I'm going to choose width of like 5. You could actually use 1 if you wanted to, but I'm going to use 5 so you can see it a little bit. And then use 50 pixels for my height. So 5 pixels, just like it is in the handout there. 5 pixels for width, 50 pixels for height. And it's just going to make a small little square. To zoom in, you can hit Command plus on the keyboard if you want to zoom in. Command plus. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a small gradient in there. You might want to turn the page so you can see the steps here. Turn the page. you'll notice I'm going to put a gradient in. How do I put a gradient in this little square area? To put a gradient in this little square area, you have a gradient tool. It's in the toolbar. It looks like a little, it's this tool right here. I don't know how to extract. It's like a little blend. It's not the square one here, but it's one that looks like a little blend. It's called a gradient tool. Once you choose the gradient tool, you'll have the options to change the color of the gradient at the top up here. It's this one right here in the box. If you click in the box up there, it's going to give you the gradient option. See that? See the little diagrams I made you in the handout there? Little gradient options at the top. Once you choose the options, you can change the color of your gradient by these little boxes at the bottom. See where it says click box to change the color? Do you see that in your diagram there? So if I click on this box, I can change the color. See how it says color right here? And you can change the color. And over here is this little box right here, and I can click on it and change the color. I'm going to leave one white because I want my gradient to go color to white. So I'm going to leave one white and change the color of one. Once you've chosen the colors that you like, you can then draw a line over your box here and draw a line straight. You draw a line straight by holding the shift key down. If I draw a line straight like this, it'll put my gradient in. Okay. In the little box. So see if you can do that. I will come around and help you, and then we will go into Dream. Save this file, and we're going to go File, Save As, and let's call it Gradient Background. So save it in your folder. Okay, we're running out of time, so let's go into Dreamweaver and show you how to use these in Dreamweaver so you can practice. So quit Photoshop when you're done. You don't have to save again. You've already saved them, I hope. So again, what I want you to do is open up Dreamweaver. It should be, oh, let me stop this.